Imagine this. You wake up in a world where every instinct that once made men formidable, their aggression, their hunger for risk, their refusal to conform, has been systematically dulled. The air hums with a quiet unease, a sense of something missing, like a forest stripped of predators. The men around you are polite, agreeable, eager to please. They apologize for taking up space. They measure their words so carefully they barely speak at all. They have been taught that strength is toxicity, that ambition is arrogance, that the fire in their gut is something to medicate away. And yet, here's the paradox. They are miserable. Not the kind of misery that roars, but the kind that festers. It's in the way their shoulders slump under invisible weights, the way their eyes dart from confrontation, the way they drown their restlessness in distraction. They have been told they are the problem, that their nature is a relic of a barbaric past. So they kneel at the altar of comfort, trading sovereignty for safety, and wonder why they feel so hollow. What if the very things we've been taught to suppress, the aggression, the defiance, the raw, unpolished will to dominate, are not flaws to be corrected, but the dormant embers of what it means to be truly alive? The great question, how did we get here? How did a society that once revered warriors, explorers, and rebels now pathologize the very traits that built civilizations? Why does modern man feel like a ghost haunting his own life, a spectator to a world that demands his compliance but denies his power? The answer lies in a silent war, not against men, but against masculinity itself. It's a war waged not with bullets, but with ideas, with every ad that sells him passivity as enlightenment, every cultural narrative that equates strength with oppression, every institution that rewards docility over daring. He is conditioned into weakness. He is taught to fear his own shadow, to mistake surrender for virtue. But this is not a lament, it's a revelation. Because the most terrifying thought is not that men have been weakened, it's that they've been convinced they chose it, that they traded their birthright for a lie dressed as progress, that they've been gaslit into believing comfort is the pinnacle of human achievement. So let me ask you, when was the last time you felt truly dangerous? Not violent, not cruel, but unapologetically alive, a force of nature refusing to be tamed. When did you last stare into the abyss of your own potential and feel it stare back? This is not about nostalgia for some mythical past. It's about the gnawing sense that something vital has been stolen from you, not by force, but by 1,000 tiny concessions, by the slow erosion of your own will. And the most unsettling question of all, what if you're complicit in your own domestication? The answer will unravel everything you think you know about strength, weakness, and the invisible chains you've learned to love. But first, we must dig deeper into the hidden forces that turned men into ghosts of themselves. The unseen war on masculinity. There is a quiet violence in how society reshapes men, not through brute force, but through a slow, insidious reprogramming. It begins in childhood, where boys are scolded for being too loud, too rough, too much. They are handed screens instead of sticks, taught to fear risk rather than master it. By adulthood, they have learned the rules. Suppress your instincts, apologize for your ambition, and above all, do not disrupt the system. But this is not an accident. It is design. The psychological disarmament. Carl Jung warned of the dangers of a one-sided psyche. When a man denies his shadow, his primal core, he does not eliminate it. He merely drives it underground, where it festers as resentment, impotence, or self-destruction. Modern society, however, goes further. It convinces him that his shadow is evil, that his aggression is toxic, his dominance oppressive, his competitiveness a pathology. Friedrich Nietzsche saw this coming. He called it the slave morality, a system where the weak redefine strength as vice, where the herd punishes the exceptional for daring to stand apart. Today, we do not crucify the rebellious man. We pathologize him. We medicate his restlessness, therapize his ambition into submission, and shame him for wanting more than a life of quiet compliance. The death of purpose. Viktor Frankl, survivor of Auschwitz, understood that men do not fear suffering. They fear meaningless suffering. Strip a man of his mission, and he will invent his own misery. Yet modern culture offers him no trials, no rites of passage, no enemies to overcome. Instead, it gives him distraction, endless scrolling, cheap dopamine, and the illusion of choice where every path leads to the same domesticated end. Jean-Paul Sartre called this bad faith, the lie we tell ourselves to avoid the terror of freedom. The modern man is not oppressed, he is seduced into surrender. He trades his sovereignty for the comfort of victimhood because it is easier to blame the world than to conquer it. The feminine default, Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, envisioned a society where pleasure was the opiate of the masses. Today, we have something subtler, a world where men are conditioned to adopt a feminine default psychology. They are taught that vulnerability without strength is virtue, that consensus is always superior to conviction, that their worth is measured by how little they disturb the peace. But here's the trap. Femininity is not weakness. It is power of a different kind. A society that elevates one mode of being while demonizing the other does not create equality. It creates castration. The philosophical betrayal. Arthur Schopenhauer understood that most men live in a state of willed delusion. They cling to myths that spare them the discomfort of truth. The modern myth? That safety is happiness. That comfort is progress. That a man's value lies in how well he conforms rather than how fiercely he breaks molds. But nature does not reward the tame. History does not remember the agreeable. The hidden problem is not that men have grown weaker. It's that they've been convinced weakness is strength. That the atrophy of their will is enlightenment. That the fire within them is a flaw to be extinguished. And the most terrifying part, they believe it. But this is only the beginning. The unseen consequences run deeper, into the very fabric of reality itself, the silent rot in the foundations. You do not notice the collapse at first. It begins in the small things, the hesitation before a challenge, the quickness to defer, the quiet resentment that simmers beneath a polite smile. A man who has been conditioned to fear his own strength does not become harmless. He becomes dangerous in the wrong ways. His aggression, denied its rightful outlet, curdles into passive aggression. His ambition, stifled by guilt, mutates into envy. His need for purpose, unmet by a world that offers him only consumption, drives him into addiction, to porn, to video games, to the numb embrace of pharmaceuticals. This is not weakness. This is misplaced power. The neurological betrayal. The brain obeys a simple law. What you do not use, you lose. Testosterone, the biochemical signature of masculine drive, drops generation after generation. Studies show modern men have lower levels than their grandfathers at the same age, but this is not just biology, it is feedback. When a society rewards compliance over conquest, the body adapts. The fire dims. Dopamine, the molecule of motivation, is hijacked by instant gratification. Why strive when distraction is a click away? Why build when you can consume? The prefrontal cortex, the seat of discipline and long-term thinking, atrophies under the constant assault of notifications, algorithms, and the engineered helplessness of convenience. The social consequences. Look around. The men who should be leaders are followers. The men who should be builders are spectators. The men who should be warriors are petitioners, begging for validation from systems designed to keep them docile. Relationships suffer. Women complain of men who lack direction, yet society vilifies the very traits that create strong partners: assertiveness, decisiveness, the willingness to lead. Economies stagnate. Innovation requires risk, but risk-takers are pathologized as reckless. The safe path is rewarded, so the bold disappear. Culture grows sterile. Art, philosophy, and politics lose their edge when the men behind them fear causing offense. This is not progress. This is civilizational decay. The psychological toll, depression, anxiety, and suicide rates climb, not because life is harder, but because men have been disarmed. A lion raised in a cage may have all its needs met, but it will still pace in misery. The modern man is told his suffering is a chemical imbalance, a personal failing. But what if it is something far darker? What if it is the scream of a soul that knows it was meant for more? The great lie. The most insidious consequence is this: men have been convinced their nature is the problem, that their restlessness is disorder, that their ambition is pathology, that their strength is a relic of oppression. But history tells a different story. The men who built civilizations, who crossed oceans, who carved order from chaos, they were not docile. They were not safe. They were dangerous, and that was their gift. The question is no longer what has been done to men. The question is, what will they do about it? The first rule of war: know your enemy. You cannot escape a prison you refuse to see. The conditioning runs deep in the way you hesitate before asserting yourself, in the guilt you feel for wanting more, in the voice that whispers, "Don't make waves," when your instincts scream, "Break the rules." But rebellion does not begin with grand gestures. It starts in the silent moments. When you choose discomfort over distraction, when you refuse to apologize for your ambition, when you stare at the parts of yourself you've been taught to hate and say, "This too is mine." Reclaiming the shadow. Carl Jung was right. The shadow does not disappear when ignored. It grows stronger in the dark. The modern man's rage, his aggression, his raw sexual energy, these are not defects to be erased. They are forces to be mastered. The warrior does not deny his capacity for violence. He transcends it by channeling it into discipline. The artist does not suppress his darkness. He harnesses it to create. Your first act of rebellion? Stop apologizing for your nature, the discipline of resistance. Friedrich Nietzsche's Übermensch was not born. He was forged. The path to power begins with ruthless self-honesty. Physical reclamation. Your body is not a temple, it's a weapon. Lift heavy, run far, push until the weakness bleeds out of you. Mental sovereignty. Delete the apps that turn your mind to mush. Read what challenges you. Think for yourself, even when it's lonely. Purpose over pleasure. Video games, porn, junk food, these are the rewards of a man who has given up on real victory. Viktor Frankl's lesson from the concentration camps applies here. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. The alchemy of anger society fears male anger because it knows anger is power in its rawest form. But anger is not the enemy. Wasted anger is. The fire in your gut can burn away complacency, forge discipline from chaos, turn victims into warriors. The choice is yours. Let it consume you or let it create you. The Brotherhood Paradox. Jean-Paul Sartre was wrong about one thing. Hell is not other people. Hell is isolation in a crowd of strangers. Modern men have more connections than ever, but fewer true allies. The rebellion requires what our ancestors knew instinctively. Men grow strong in the presence of stronger men. Accountability is the antidote to weakness. A tribe that challenges you is more valuable than an army that coddles you. Find your tribe or watch your resolve wither. The final barrier, the greatest obstacle, is not society, not the system, not the conditioning. It's your own belief that you're powerless. But history whispers the truth. Every revolution begins with one man who stops asking for permission. Will you be that man? The lie you've been fed all this time, you thought the problem was you, that your restlessness meant you were broken, that your ambition made you toxic, that your refusal to settle proved you were flawed. But here is the truth they never wanted you to see. You were never weak. You were never the problem. You were weaponized against yourself. The grand illusion civilizations rise and fall on one principle. The strong must be controlled, or they will change the world. For centuries, kings and priests understood this. Today, the methods are subtler, but the goal remains the same. They pathologize your dominance as toxic masculinity. They rebrand your discipline as workaholism. They shame your sexual drive as objectification, not because these things are evil, because they are powerful. The forbidden truth about weakness, real weakness, isn't lack of strength, it's lack of purpose. The modern world didn't make men weaker, it made their strength obsolete. Why build when you can consume? Why fight when you can comply? Why lead when you can follow? But here's the secret. Strength unused becomes poison. That gnawing emptiness, that's not depression, that's your soul starving for a worthy battle. The final realization. You've been asking the wrong question. Not, how do I become stronger? But, what will I do with the strength I already have? Because the fire never left you, you just stopped feeding it. The choice that defines a man. In this moment, you stand at the crossroads of two destinies, the path of the tamed. Keep apologizing for your nature. Keep dulling your edges. Die softly, with your music still inside you. The path of the sovereign. Embrace your darkness as fuel. Turn your rage into creation. Become the storm the world tried to silence. There is no middle ground. The last words you'll ever need. When Nietzsche's madman ran through the streets crying, "God is dead," he wasn't mourning, he was warning. A world without gods needs men who can bear the weight of their own divinity. The question isn't whether you're strong enough. The question is whether you're brave enough to find out. Epilogue, the antidote. There is a cure for the modern malaise. It's not therapy, not medication, not another self-help book. It's 3 words. Stop asking permission. The prison door was never locked. You were just waiting for someone to tell you it was okay to leave.